Hey, Chris, thank you so much for coming to meet with me today. And hi, Hilo, it's so good to see you again. So, before we start, I just want to tell you, you are doing such a wonderful job with Hilo. You care so much about his health. Not a lot of people care enough to go through all of these meetings and appointments just to make sure that their dog is getting the type of nutrition that they need.
Thank you. He is very important to me and my family. He's one of us. Just want to make sure we're doing everything we can to support him.
I can tell. Alrighty, let's get started. We're going to go ahead and go through his history. So, quick review. Hilo is 2.5 years old. He is 55 pounds, and I understand that he had a pretty rough early life and dealt with some malnutrition and a traumatic injury to his throat. Both because of his history and what we've come to learn about him, our goals are going to be to make sure that his weight is ideal, protect him from future illnesses and diabetes and heart conditions, and we really want to make sure that his digestion is on track. We also want to monitor his muscle health and make sure that his food is giving him everything that he needs. Does that line up with everything you wanted to cover?
Yeah, that covers it. I really want to talk about the diabetes. My wife and I both had labs with diabetes, and we want to make sure that we're not giving it to him. Is he at risk for developing it?
Of course, we can talk about that. I am so sorry that you and your last dog and your wife and her dog had to go through that. It is very hard. That is a really important question to ask, though, especially because he's a Labrador mix and had that early malnutrition. While his risk is raised just slightly, you're doing an excellent job of keeping him lean and limiting his sugar and carb intake and exercising him. So you're already reducing that risk by continuing all these things and making sure that he's on a very healthy, protein-filled diet and monitoring his blood sugar levels with his vet. We can really reduce that risk as much as possible, and you're already doing an excellent job.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so right now, Hilo is eating the Taste of the Wild Sierra Mountain grain-free with lamb formula dry dog food. Ooh, tongue twister. Is that correct?
Yeah, I know you also mentioned another food last time. Can we talk a little bit more about why we're considering that?
Of course, that was my next topic of business. Well, the
Awesome.
food he's on now is a good overall food, and it meets all AAFCO standards for dog nutrition. There have been several studies in the last few years, though, that show a considerable link between grain-free diets and heart problems in dogs. This
Hmm.
heart problem is called DCM, or dilated cardiomyopathy.
Yikes.
While it's not a guarantee that he would develop DCM if he stayed on his current food, I know you really want to reduce his risk of long-term health conditions, so I personally would like to transition him to a more grain-inclusive formula, like the Taste of the Wild Ancient Prairie with Ancient Grains diet that we talked about last time.
Wow, I was always told that grain-free is healthier. Have I been putting him at risk for such a terrible
I
condition?
know that's really tough to hear, but no, you were following all of the information that you had, and that's all that we can expect of you. Grain free foods have always been marketed as healthier for dogs. And this is a brand new science and showing this link to heart disease. Hilo is doing great right now. We just want to adjust his diet to prevent any future mishaps. Please don't be alarmed or feel bad at all. You are doing the absolute best you can, and I think you're doing a really great job. We just want to protect him a little bit more, right?
What was
Yeah.
that food called again? And it's the same brand as I get now, right?
Yeah, so it is from the same brand. It's
Okay.
another Taste of the Wild diet. We talked about two different options, but we settled on Taste of the Wild
Ancient.
Ancient Prairie with Ancient Grains dry dog food formula as his best option. We also discussed the Purina Pro Plan chicken and rice diet, but Ancient Prairie was much higher in protein, has healthy grains, and is cost effective in comparison to Purina.
Yeah, now he also has the digestive issues, and I'm worried he won't like it. Is it going to hurt his
So
stomach?
if we transitioned him too fast and quit his old food cold turkey, it could cause some digestive upset.
Okay.
However, we're going to transition him really slowly. We'll go over that schedule next. This should mitigate any sort of digestive issues. I am going to have you monitor him and kind of keep track of his behavioral issues and such. In
Mhm.
terms of him liking it, this formula has bison and venison as its first two ingredients,
Wow.
which are very palatable and liked by most dogs. It's also slightly higher in calories, so Hilo won't need to eat quite as much food as if he stayed on his current diet. So his stomach really shouldn't have too many issues. Now, of course, there's never a guarantee that it's going to sit well. We really just have to test it and watch and wait.
Cool. Now, I know cost isn't a huge factor, but these diets can get pricey. Are they worth it?
Yeah, so that's a very common concern. And while the upfront cost of this food is going to be a little bit higher, in the long run, the math evens out. It's a very calorie dense food, so Hilo won't need to eat quite as much of it again to get the same energy from those nutrients. It may actually save money in the long run by preventing those heart conditions and obesity and diabetes, which can be really expensive to treat. I like
Hmm.
to think about it as an investment in Hilo's health. However, Chris, if it ever does get too expensive, please let me know. That's okay. There are other options we could totally discuss.
Sounds good. Bison and venison, you're eating better than I am.
Right? Okay, so here's that feeding plan I was talking about just a little bit ago. I'll give you a quick rundown. Once you get his new food, you're going to want to start with each of his meals being 25% new food, 75% old food for about 2 days. If there are no concerns, we can move up to 50-50, 50 old, 50 new. Again, you're going to want to watch his bathroom habits, watch his eating habits, and his behavior. Everything goes well, Move up to 75% new, 25% old. By this point, his body will have mostly adjusted to the new food, and by the time we reach day 8, he can fully eat the new diet. He should be
Hmm.
eating around 3.25 cups a day, split between 2 meals. This should help him gain that little bit of weight that we discussed.
Yeah, I thought he was really healthy. Is he underweight? I don't want him to suffer through malnutrition again. Is he okay?
So Hilo's body condition score is a 4 out of 9, which is
Okay.
right around the middle, which is pretty much where we want him to be. For his
Oh.
body type, though, he's just slightly lean, but not unhealthy.
Hmm.
He has almost an athlete's build rather than being malnourished or underfed. This
Okay.
plan will just add a little bit of extra healthy weight to his body and help protect his joints and his muscles as he grows.
Hmm.
Just these 5 pounds will bring him up hopefully to a 5 out of 9. He's not at risk for overfeeding. Now, for this to work, I would really like for you to weigh Hilo every 2 weeks, try and track his stool, yada, yada, yada. It's a lot of work. Are you comfortable doing all of that consistently?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but I want the best for him. I'll set reminders and my family can help track everything. Should be fine.
Yeah, that's a great plan. I use reminders every single day. And if there are days you forget to weigh him or weigh him a day late or don't get all of the information that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, not a big deal. Just helps us to get a bigger picture and make sure we're doing everything right by Hilo.
Sounds good. Just want you to be as healthy as possible, man.
So now that we have discussed his main diet, I would really like to go over his enrichment and his treats. Enrichment's going to be the
She said the
stimulation of his
magic
body
word.
and his mind. We want him to be able to exhibit natural behaviors and keep his mind nice and active all the time. This can be really tricky with pets as we aren't always available to play with them, but there are a lot of ways to do this.
Yeah, so he gets a Kong with peanut butter and it keeps him occupied. He also used to get antler chews, but they messed with his saliva and made it like glue. Good alternatives for that? Any? Any
Yeah, there
ideas?
are going to be some great alternatives.
Awesome.
Here are some specific rubber chews that you could give him, and there are
Mm-hmm.
some much more natural versions like the Merrick Rawhide Free Chews.
Merit
Hopefully, these won't cause that
Rawhide.
issue. Now, I know he loves his peanut butter Kong, but I would recommend expanding his enrichment. You could get things like puzzle feeders or snuffle mats. Both of these kind of slow down his eating and make him use problem solving cognitive skills in order to get all of
Hmm.
his food. With the scatter feeding, you can even scatter it outdoors. This allows dogs to get
Hmm.
environmental, food, behavior, and sensory enrichment all at once.
That's awesome. I'll have to try it out. What about his other treats? The peanut sprat, blue buffalo chicken. Can he have those?
Yeah, he can keep having all of those as long as it
Awesome.
is in moderation. Luckily, the blue buffalo chicken bits and the Baltic sprat are both relatively high in protein and low in sugar. He's getting a healthy amount of treats right now. Just make sure he's not getting any more.
Mhm.
Now, Chris, be honest. Is Hilo getting any more peanut butter than we might have already had recorded just for curiosity's sake?
Okay, we typically stick to once or twice a week, but he gives me puppy eyes and I can't say no.
I get the feeling. I completely understand. Let's just make sure it is only once or twice a week, and we want to
You
make
hear
sure
that?
we're using a xylitol-free peanut butter. Xylitol is a type
Xylitol.
of sugar additive that's found in most human peanut butters,
Hmm.
and it can be extremely toxic to dogs.
Huh.
Natural peanut butter or ground peanuts with a little bit of water are xylitol-free and an excellent alternative. Limiting his peanut butter intake will help limit his sugar intake and further prevent those diabetes, but you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I'll make sure to stick to those healthier protein-filled treats when you give me those puppy eyes.
I think that's a great plan.
Mhm.
Alrighty, we are almost done. Let's just go over his monitoring checklist one more time. We already talked about weighing Hilo every 2 weeks, recording his body condition. You also said you'd be willing to check his stool quality and let me know if his appetite or behavior changes. Next, I would recommend scheduling a vet checkup and making sure that they do blood work and a full body exam just to make sure
Hmm.
everything is on track. I'd love for you to do one as soon as possible and then again in 2 to 3
Two,
months.
3 months.
I
Okay.
know that visits can get pricey, but as we're switching his food and keeping him on this new feeding plan, it's really important that we monitor his blood sugar levels and his body condition.
Yeah, we can totally do that. He has a great vet team. He honestly loves seeing them. I feel bad because of all the trauma he went through, and his throat damage shouldn't cause issue now. Is it going to come back to bite us? He
It's
seems
a very real
okay.
concern, Chris, and the fact that you're so concerned about Hilo really makes me feel like he's in the right home.
Hmm.
There's definitely a risk of him developing some swallowing issues as he ages, but
Okay.
you've already done so much to prevent future issues. There may not be anything that we can necessarily do to help nutrition wise, or at least we won't be able to
Okay.
fully prevent it. What we can do is make sure his food is anti inflammatory, as this new diet is,
Mm.
and catch problems early.
Okay.
You're going to be monitoring him really closely, as will his
Hmm.
regular vets, and we should catch any issue as soon as it arises. And if it does arise, we can reevaluate his diet and find something that fits a little bit better. Chris, you have made such a difference in his life already.
Yeah, I'll make sure to watch out for that and I'll get him into the vet as soon as possible. Schedule visits a few
That
months
sounds
out.
great, Chris. And I know all of this can be very overwhelming, but just know you are doing an amazing job. We're all making just little adjustments to
Mhm.
Hilo's diet. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep Hilo happy and healthy for his nice long life.
Thank you so much. I feel better already. Thank you for explaining this all to me.
Of course, I'll be sure to email you our feeding plan, his transition schedule, all of this information here in our notes from today.
Awesome.
If you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out
Mhm.
absolutely anytime. Keep me updated as you transition his food, and we'll meet again really soon. Thank you again, Chris. And Hilo, I can't wait to see you really soon. Ah, he is such a good boy.
Thank you. You hear that, Hilo? We're getting you back on track. You're going to do great.